Look at me, I'm
NFL April 20th, 2018 1:51 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time April 20th, 2018 1:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Because social media didn't exist, you probably haven't heard about these ridiculous happenings from the NFL draft over the years. Use left to right buttons to navigate. Swipe left to right to navigate. The NFL Draft, one of the bigger events of the year for football fans, is dissected about 100 different ways. That wasn't always the case. Hyper non-stop coverage has grown exponentially in the age of social media. More guys who fell in the draft, and fell hard if something strange happens in this era of the NFL Draft, as exemplified by the Laramie Tunsil saga. It will be on Vine or Twitter in less than a minute. The craziest happenings back in the day may have slipped through the cracks without the social safety net, and that's why we're bringing them back to light. So beginning with Tunsil and traveling through time to John Wayne's draft day, here are the strangest moments in draft history. Getty Images. Although our list is about NFL draft oddities, this from the Canadian Football League was too strange not to include. The CFL in back-to-back years selected a player who had already passed away, and not as an honorary notion. More 7 riskiest picks of the 2016 NFL Draft. The first was in 1995 when the Ottawa Rough Riders selected Darryl Robertson, who had died in a car accident the year before, in the 4th round. I don't know how it happened, Ottawa coach Jim Gilstrap told the Ottawa Sun at the time. The league didn't know until we told them. And we didn't know until a week ago when we couldn't find him. It happened again in 1996, when the Montreal Alouettes selected James Eggink in the 5th round, but they later found out the defensive end died of cancer the previous year. Getty Images. The 2016 NFL Draft had not even started when top prospect and Ole Miss left tackle Laramie Tunsil saw his stock drop precipitously. Why? Because a video surfaced on his hacked Twitter account, a video which featured Tunsil smoking a bong through a gas mask. The video caused several teams to steer clear before the Dolphins finally ended the free fall by picking Tunsil at No. 13. But somehow that wasn't the end of this saga. Minutes later, a second social media hack attack led to private text messages being revealed on Tunsil's Instagram, messages which revealed that Ole Miss coaches had helped Tunsil pay for rent, among other expenses. More, how Tunsil convinced the Dolphins to draft him. The drama only escalated when Tunsil totally owned up to the text messages. Then Roger Goodell seemed positively giddy about watching a young man get humiliated on television. Everyone's no. One suspect for hacking the accounts came out with a strong denial. And after all this, Tunsil suffered a strange allergic reaction before his first Dolphins press conference. What a way to start a career. A communication error led to the Buccaneers selecting the wrong person in the first round of the 1982 draft. More, ranking every first-round quarterback since 2000. Tampa Bay was deciding between defensive end Booker Reese and guard Sean Farrell for 17th overall pick. Equipment manager Pat Marcuccio was given both names and told to wait as management decided on whom to pick. The books decided on Reese, but that's not what Marcuccio heard. Personnel executive Ken Herrick talked about the process with Sports Illustrated. We thought we needed both of those players, but after we mulled it over and discussed it, the selection was to go with Booker Reese, Herrick told SI. So I told Pat, I said, listen, Pat, you've got 2 names there. I said, we're not going with Sean Farrell, we're going with Booker Reese. Turn it in, but he didn't hear the Booker Reese part of it because of the noise. He took it that we were going with Sean Farrell and turned it in, whoops. And the story doesn't end there. The books were so sure about Reese's talent that they traded a future first-round pick to select him when he fell to the 2nd round. Reese was a bust, but Farrell had a respectable 11-year NFL career. ASUCLA Photography. Washington really wanted California running back Alvin "Cal" Rossi. They made him the first selection twice in 2 years. More, has Ohio State turned into cornerback U. The Redskins used the 9th overall pick on Rossi in 1946 only to find out he was not eligible as a junior. They selected him in the 1st round again when he was available the following year. Here's the best part. After being selected the second time, Rossi told the team he had no plans to play in the NFL. He never played a down for the Redskins. BYU. Eli Herring was a talented BYU offensive lineman who made it clear he did not want to play professional football due to religious reasons, and he read to every NFL team saying so. More NFL players who could have made the NBA Raiders being the Raiders decided to give it a try anyway and selected Herring in the 6th round of the 1995 draft. Raiders senior assistant Bruce Allen flew to Herring's home and offered him a 3-year, $1.5 million contract, which Herring declined. Not that I would not have liked to have been in the NFL, but Sunday is a church day, Herring told the Seattle Times. One of our guiding principles as Christians is the Ten Commandments, and the Lord has told us there and in the Scriptures to keep the Sabbath holy. The Lord has said that those who do enjoy certain promises, and I just decided that I would be better off in the long run if I obeyed his desires. He then paused before adding, though a couple of $100,000 sure would have been nice. Getty Images. Jay Bowanger has a lot of accolades to his name. First Heisman winner, first player taken in first NFL draft, but playing in the NFL is not one of them. Drafted by Philadelphia and traded to Chicago, Bowanger was more interested in business than football. He said the league didn't pay enough. I graduated with a degree in business and went to work for a rubber company. I wrote a column for the Daily News that first year too, he said in a Chicago Tribune article. I didn't play pro because they weren't paying any money. I didn't get hit making speeches at high schools and Kiwanis clubs, but I got indigestion from corned beef and mashed potato dinners. Getty Images. The 1972 draft featured 17 rounds, 7 rounds these days, and after a while, the selections got slim, presented little chance for success in the NFL, so the Falcons decided to have some late-round fun. Do we want the roughest, toughest sob in the draft? Falcons coach Norm Van Brocklin reportedly yelled. Atlanta picks John Wayne of Fort Apache State. Commissioner Pete Rozelle disallowed the pick. Getty Images. Redskins coach George Allen was able to pull a fast one in the early 1970s, as explained in a New York Times article. Allen, who made 19 deals in his first season in charge of the Redskins, traded the club's 1973 draft choice twice, first to the Jets and then to the Rams, and a third and fourth selection twice, first to the Buffalo Bills and then to the Chargers. The Redskins received in exchange for these choices 4 players: Vailon Briggs of the Jets, Ron McDowell of the Bills, Richie Pettibon of the Rams, and Speedy Duncan of the Chargers, who were key performers in the club's successful season that took Washington into the playoffs for the first time since 1945. The NFL didn't find out until a year later, and Allen was fined a sum believed to be $5,000. Getty Images. A strange statistic heading into the 2011 draft resulted in a strange trade. The Eagles and Patriots had made a trade in each draft since Bill Belichick arrived in New England in 2000. In order to keep the streak alive, the Patriots sent the No. 193 pick to the Eagles for the number 194 pick. Getty Images. The 2011 draft featured 2 talented players with names similar enough to confuse teams like Cleveland, USC tight end Jordan Cameron and California defensive end Cameron Jordan. The Browns, on the clock with the 102nd pick, dialed the wrong number when trying to call Jordan Cameron. More. Here's who the Browns should take this year. Jordan told Sports Illustrated about the mix-up. Hi, said the voice on the other end. Jordan: this is the Cleveland Browns. The call was for some biographical information. Yeah, this is Cameron Jordan, he said. But the Saints already picked me. There was an awkward pause before Jordan continued. I think you mean Jordan Cameron. You're looking for Jordan Cameron. That's not me. Awkward. The Browns eventually got in touch with the correct player. Jimmy Walker, the first overall pick in the 1967 NBA draft, was also the final pick of the 1967 NFL draft. The Saints selected him in the 17th round despite no college football experience. Walker made the right decision and went on to a successful basketball career, 2 NBA All-Star appearances and 11,655 career points. No surprise, he's the only athlete to be the first pick in one pro league and the last pick in another. Getty Images. This one's well known but just as strange. Then Saints coach Mike Ditka traded his entire 1999 draft and his first and third picks in the 2000 draft for Texas running back Ricky Williams. The Saints gave away 8 picks in total, including 2 first-rounders, to move up from the No. 12 spot to No. 5. Ditka wasn't wrong about the potential in Williams, who ended up rushing for over 10,000 yards in his career. But he accomplished most of that in Miami after lasting just 3 years in New Orleans. Getty Images. The Vikings botched the 7th overall pick in 2003 when they failed to submit the pick within the 15-minute time limit. They didn't lose the pick, but the mistake allowed others to step in and make their selections. The Jaguars were next on the clock and selected Byron Leftwich. The Panthers also jumped in and selected Jordan Gross. The Vikings then selected Kevin Williams, which worked out, as he became a 6-time Pro Bowl defensive lineman. Same thing happened in 2011 to the Ravens, who were in trade talks with the Bears as time expired before the 26th overall pick. Kansas City stepped in and selected Jonathan Baldwin before Baltimore took Jimmy Smith. Syracuse post-standard. The Eagles selected Syracuse fullback Norm Michael in the 18th round of the 1944 draft. And he found out about it in 1999. Michael was reportedly reading a newspaper list of each Syracuse player ever drafted and saw his name. My son sent the Eagles a letter. After we found out, Michael said, according to the book, Weirdest Moments in Sports, I think he wanted to see if the Eagles owed me a signing bonus. Think of the interest I could have accumulated on the money. 57 years worth. The Eagles at the time were unaware that Michael had joined the Army. Getty Images. Many players cried tears of joy after being selected, but not Cedric Benson. The 4th overall pick by Chicago in 2005 cried on draft night for the opposite reason. Benson was bugged that Jerry Angelo decided to draft him despite Benson's representatives making clear in a last-minute phone call that they and the Bears weren't on the same page regarding fundamental contract demands, wrote David Hoare of the Chicago Tribune. The relationship was never repaired. Benson didn't play well for 3 years in Chicago, never rushed for more than 700 yards in a season, but he enjoyed 3 1,000-yard seasons in Cincinnati. Getty Images. The Buccaneers selected Auburn running back Bo Jackson with the 1st overall pick in 1986 and offered him a 5-year, $7.6 million contract, which he declined, just as he told Tampa he would do. Jackson instead accepted a 3-year, $1.067 million deal with MLB's Kansas City Royals. Jackson had grown upset with Bucs owner Hugh Culverhouse, who invited the running back to take a trip to Tampa on the owner's plane. When Jackson returned to Auburn, he found out the visit cost him NCAA eligibility for baseball season. I was already thinking about not going to Tampa Bay, Jackson said in the ESPN film. You don't know about this. Because the officials at Tampa Bay told me personally. Yes, we checked it. The NCAA said that it was okay. I think it was all a plot to get me ineligible from baseball because they saw the season that I was having, and they thought that they were going to lose me to baseball. They thought, if we get him declared ineligible, then we got him. I told Hugh Culverhouse, you'll draft me if you want, you're going to waste a draft pick. I said, I promise you that. Jackson, while playing for the Royals, re-entered the draft the following year and was selected by the Raiders in the 7th round. Getty Images. Notre Dame's Raghib Rocket Ishmael was expected to be the top pick in the 1991 draft. But he had other intentions and instead signed a deal with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL, where he could make more money. With Ishmael in Canada, there was no reason for an NFL team to take him. But the Raiders selected him in the 4th round, anyway. Oddly enough, he did end up playing for the Raiders a few years later. Argonauts owner Bruce McNall ran into some financial trouble, and Ishmael left the CFL to sign with Oakland. The man they called Rocket would also play for the Panthers and Cowboys throughout his 10-year NFL career.